Hello, everybody. It's Don Littlefield. I'm the general manager of the Maine Brew Bus in Portland, Maine, and this is our second virtual brewery tour. We are doing these because we can no longer bring our buses to the breweries that they're not able to bring in guests right now. And yet we still want to share our information and our education, and we want to be able to tell stories in a different way. We could tell the stories statewide of breweries and later on wineries, distilleries, and other producers of craft alcohol. And we could do it in a way that would be interactive and fun and upbeat. There are challenges ahead, but there are also ways that we can support the industry. And I think it's really important to get those messages out. The breweries, by and large, are open for business one way or the other. And we can support those. We can support those companies perhaps in a different way than we're used to doing it. So it's 4:00, and our guest that will be joining us here shortly is Michael Schuler. Michael is a co-founder of Nonesuch River Brewing Company from Scarborough, Maine. They're not only a production brewery, but they're also a full-scale restaurant, and they're part of Scarborough that is fairly close to the Maine Mall. In that part of Scarborough, there are not a lot of restaurants that are there. So they've really quickly become a family-friendly atmosphere or a family-friendly location for people to join and have a great beer as well. And the interesting thing is that, in the midst of all of this, we know that restaurants are affected. We know that breweries are affected. And it'll be interesting to find out how a combination of brew pub is affected as well. And if you like what you see and if you like what you hear, as you would on a regular bus tour, we have a tip bucket out. It's just, it's an electronic tip bucket. So on our website at themainbrewbus.com, right at the very top of our homepage, we have a section there that talks about virtual brewery tours. And if you go in there, and right next to the calendar, you'll see that you can give a gratuity, is a better way of saying that. We are going to take a portion of those gratuities and donate them to local cause that will be supporting the recovery efforts, most likely in efforts to support hospitality workers that are deeply affected by this as well. So that's the virtual tip bucket. That's at themainbrewbus.com. Just to let you know, we will be taking questions during this half hour. You can pose your questions right in the comments section at the bottom of the screen. So it's probably right down there, or if it's reverse, it's down there. And you can put those comments in there. Questions if you want to talk about beers or different things that you really appreciate Nonesuch River Brewing Company for. Put those in there, and we'll share those with Michael once we get him on the live stream. As somebody who's tracking those questions and comments, it's Greg Klein back at his home office in Freeport, and he's helping to produce this virtual brewery tour today. So let me just try to get our friends connected here. Bear with us one second. This is a live show. Ooh, it's looking good. It's looking good. Michael!
Hello!
Hello,
I had to get
Michael!
my permission.
I could see you trying. I knew you were coming in. But welcome. Thanks for joining us on our second ever virtual brewery tour.
Yes, thank you for having us. To be here.
Nice.
Good to be social.
Nice. It is good to be social, right?
Yeah.
I've been sequestered, or I've been quarantined since I returned back from Ireland.
Right.
Since it's an EU country, so I haven't been social for a few days, and I've got a bunch of days more to go as well. Speaking of that, let's talk about what's in our glass. Since I did just return from Ireland, I have something that reminds me of where I was a week ago. I was in Westport, Ireland, and this is obviously the Nonesuch Red, which is an Irish-style ale. It's an American take on an Emerald Isle classic. And
excellent choice.
Yeah, thanks. What are you enjoying today?
I'm drinking our Saphound Maple Cream Ale, which we made in partnership with Saphound Maple Company out of Harrison. And
right.
We used 2 pounds of maple in the boil and 1 pound after fermentation, and to give it a nice mapley flavor and some residual sweetness. And
nice.
It's yummy. I put it on this morning, and we were going to roll it out tomorrow, but everything in the world is canceled. So,
first of all, cheers to you. Cheers. Oh, there we go. We get this. We'll get this down. They work better in rehearsal.
There you go.
For those, have my sip. Oh, delightful. Those of you not from Maine, tomorrow would be the annual occurrence called Maine Maple Sunday. Maine Maple Sunday is a time in which maple sugar houses or producers of maple syrup would open up their farms that are normally not open to the public. They have different events for children of all ages, basically, whether it be petting zoos or hot maple on ice to create candy, different sort of events, pancakes and so forth. Obviously, there is not going to be a Maine Maple Sunday tomorrow. So many breweries, including we talked to David down at Some Brewing. He had produced a beer special for Maine Maple Sunday as well. So I suspect that that's why you have maple in your glass right now.
It is, and it's yummy. So we are filling growlers and whatnot for curbside. So hopefully people will come in and take advantage of it.
Perfect. Well, before we get going with the really tough questions, for those who are not familiar with your backstory of you and how you met your partners and created your beautiful space there, why don't you shed a little light on that?
Absolutely. So I worked in healthcare for 24 years or so as an occupational therapist assistant, and worked in skilled nursing facilities and did some management, did some other things, and was a home brewer also, and did that for about 20 years and just found that I was thinking more about what I was going to be brewing that night versus Mrs. Smith in front of me with her total hip, which if you're in healthcare, you need to be all in. And I was starting to be 90% in and 10% at home in my home brewery. So figured I should probably make a plan to do what my passion calling is. So just kept brewing more and more, and got a commercial pilot system for our garage. Got a very patient wife. Some people buy snowmobiles. I was able to buy that, and that's what I did on my weekends with my brewing partner Steve Lilly. And we were up at our kids all play hockey, and we were up at the Samoset at a hockey tournament doing what hockey parents do, which is getting kicked out of hockey venues and hotels. So I brought up a couple of kegs of my home brew just to ensure that we got kicked out. And one of our coaches, his name is Tim Boardman, and he's like, "Wow, this is awesome." He was actually drinking the red that you're drinking right now, and he's like, "That's the best red ever. Whose is this?" I'm like, "It's mine from the garage." So we started talking over the years and kept in touch, and eventually Tim was like, "Look, are you gonna do this or not?" Because he's like a gas pedal guy, and I'm more like a clutch guy. Like, let's go, let's start, stop. And he's let's go. So, which is great. So we went and we started making plans, and we looked at property, and we started putting all the pieces in place to be able to build this. We live in Scarborough, and there's an abundance of pizza restaurants in Scarborough, which is great if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking, but that's about it. Yeah. If you were looking for a different dining experience, you had to leave town. You had to go to Portland, or you had to drive south to Kennebunk, or go to another town. So we really thought that our town could benefit from its first brewery and a picked up food experience. So we started moving forward with that. We needed the restaurant side because none of us had done restaurants, and this is not an animal that you want to learn on the fly. So a coaching buddy of mine, Pete Gambardella, said, "Hey, my brother just moved back from San Francisco. He's a culinary trained chef. He owned and operated a couple of restaurants. His family back here for the quality of life," which I'd agree. Quality of life here is awesome. So we met his brother, who was working as an Applebee's shift manager, and which was a great job, but not his passion path for sure. So we met him at the Great Lost Bear one night and had a couple of pints and talked about our vision and his vision and where he could fit in and where we could all have synergy. And had a couple of pints and pretty much got married on the spot there. We just kind of said, "Yeah, let's go do this." And so we did. And a lot of years later, we're open. 3 years to get it built, and we've been open about 2.5 years now, and have such a great community here and such a great staff. We've got 45 employees that we care for, and they care for us. We've got a community that's behind us 100%, and it's our duty and job and love and passion to serve all those folks. So
nice. That's great. A couple of points before we move on. From the Hip has commented that Nonesuch has killer food, which is fantastic, just given to what you're saying about finding somebody who knows how to do the restaurant game. And he does it very well, for sure. Got another vote here for the food. My spouse is pregnant. We literally go for just the food. Keep it up. And that's fantastic, and that's from the Hip as well. All right, let's talk about the building itself. The building is striking. So, tell me a little bit about the construction of the building, because it's way better than the old farmhouse that used to be on that property.
Yeah, when we bought this land, it was a building that looked like it should have fallen down 30 years ago, yet didn't, and so we took ownership of the land, and we took the building down and built this structure. And we wanted it to be very wide open. Oddly enough, we kind of all sat around and looked at Pinterest, and we saw architectural things that we liked, and we made notes of them. And then we saw this one barn that was like lit up at night, and we're like, oh my God, that's the one. So we took that to the architects and put our ideas in, and we wanted it to be post and beam. We wanted it to be wood heavy on the inside, and was a contractor, so he was charged with building this whole building, and it came out beautiful. And I can always tell when somebody hasn't been here before, because they'll sit down in their seat, and the first thing they'll do is they'll look up. So yeah, I can do that as my cue for, okay, they haven't been here. I'll go over and chat with them when they let me out of the brewery. So
it's a very visual indication, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. So Nonesuch River Brewing is now, let's see, is this coming up on 4 years old?
2.5.
2.5. So coming up on 3 years old. Nice. Yeah. And you've got, your cans are out in distribution. You're available not only at your own place, but at others. And you've just gone through a nice brand refresh to really kind of, bring your company in line with, with where you need to be now. So everything seemed to be firing on all cylinders when the world went south here. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the closure, how you found out or realized the implications, and how your fans and your guests have reacted to support you.
Yeah, we've had a stellar last year and beginning of this year, and just rolling. And we've got some initiatives to get some more tanks in the brewery. We've got one in, another one needs to come in, 2 more bright tanks coming, all those things, because we saw how January and February were, and those shouldn't be as busy as they were, and they were. So we're thinking about how do we manage July, August, and September, which is when most of the beer in Maine sold. So we did some work to get some things upgraded, and then we knew this was coming. We just didn't think that it was going to be like riding down a hill on your bike and having somebody throw a broom in your front spokes, like that. But we were paying attention to the news, and we were looking at the CDC reports, and obviously looking at Governor Mills' recommendations and abiding by those. And then when we got shut down for dine in, dine out only, or curbside, we've got a very nimble, very smart leadership team here. So we were able to hour by hour kind of look at plans and look at the new reality that is what is happening right now, and make a plan. And that plan changed the day that we were closed from our plan for 8 a.m. Now all of a sudden at noon we're getting notification that we're now closed. So we put together another plan, and the community has been great. We've been getting orders. We've been servicing our community, which is what we want to do. We have had to make a skeleton crew in the kitchen, and managers, and some folks were laid off for the time being. Just like many others in the industry. So those were probably the hardest decisions were certainly the people decisions. So yeah. But in order for us to remain viable, we need to make those decisions so that people have good jobs to come back to. If the world crashes and we all go bankrupt, then nobody benefits. So.
Yeah, for sure. Does your or did your experience and background in healthcare help you to understand what the real factors were at play here?
It does. In healthcare, we would do exercises quite a bit where follow the pathogen path and see what you touched and see how well it was cleaned and move down the hall and see the 47 things that you touched after you touched that patient. So I think I've got a good understanding of how critically important hand washing is, and we should all have chapped hands at this point. Nobody should have lush, beautiful, soft hands at this point. They should all just be almost on the verge of cracking. So that's all really important. And from our business standpoint, we've torn apart the entire building, and we have washed everything. We're currently washing all of the bar stools, tops and bottoms, and every plate, every glass, every dish, everything has been washed in the last couple of days. And anytime one of our staff members brings a meal out to a car, they have washed their hands prior to, they have handed it to them, they have washed their hands on the way back. So
yeah, the protocols are strong there based on your background.
Yeah.
And also when your staff are delivering curbside, I see that there's an opportunity for your guests to come back later, a little incentive for a free pint, I see.
Ah, yes, we're gonna see how that goes. We might get our hands slapped for that, but we'll work it out. So,
the rules are a little loose right now. So,
right.
But I like that idea. You want the guests to come back at a time, and you want to thank them for their patronage. This is March. You're mostly seeing local folks, I think, at the moment. So you definitely want their support when it's time to put the doors back open. So,
boy, I just feel like the world is such we're all just such social animals and something and everyone's talking and we don't have TVs inside. So it really truly is a place where you come and you commiserate and talk with your neighbors. And to have everyone who loves to do that stuck at home with their small group of family or whoever they're living with, boy, when the gates open, I think people are just going to be charging out. So.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for too, for sure. The problem is we just don't know when the gates open. We're like the bull, right, with the rider on the back. We just don't know when that gate's going to open.
Right, so. And we need to make sure that when the gates do open, that we're still responsible and we're still washing our hands and we're still making sure that the spread isn't going to get prolonged. So.
Yeah, the risk is still there for sure. I'm going to ask you to show us a little bit around the facility. But before we do, I have a question from our friends Brew Donkey in Ottawa, who are the ones who pioneered this concept. They said, they asked, with ceilings like that, have birds or bats gotten into your building?
We have not ever had a bat. Probably the biggest problem that we have is birthday parties with balloons. We have a fan here because of the cavernous the amount of volume of air that we have. We were finding that we were having heat stratification issues in the first winter. So we looked online for fans, and I looked up. We need a big ass fan, and apparently there's a company called Big Ass Fans, and they make that. So
for sure,
so it's more the balloons that we maybe have had to shoot down once or twice.
Shoot down, like with a in high school I'd use rubber band and a paper clip, and that was pretty effective. I'm sure you're talking about something like that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm talking about.
Are you able to pick up your phone and then reverse the image by hitting that kind of arrow so that people can see the beautiful design of this building?
Yep. So we're currently in the upstairs mezzanine, which holds 50 people, and that sits above the restaurant here. So we have our bar, and we've got some other high top seating and bench seating all along the sides over there. This is all the post and beam work that Tim put together, which was pretty amazing. We've got our delightful kitchen crew down there working in the open kitchen, putting together orders to go.
Gals, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, team.
Yep, they're killing it. They're doing the best they can under the circumstances, and the wait times for food are really low right now. So
So if you're in a rush, call ahead, and
Right.
wait times are low. So,
And then outside this time of year, we start getting some nice weather. We've got a nice covered deck out here that'll seat another 50 in the summer. This is probably the favorite place of most people in the summer. Yeah.
beautiful.
And then we've got, and then over behind the bar, we've got the brewery, which is down in the basement. We've got a full basement under the entire building, and the brewery takes up about 2,000 square feet or so.
So it's a whole floor below where you're seeing the top of the bar. Then there's the bar level, and then there's a whole floor below that where where Michael is penned in for most of the time.
Right. Yeah, they let me come out every so often.
Do you know the dimensions from the floor in the brew house up to the ceiling, up to the roof?
Yes, and boy, watching the guys put the final wood pieces up there, I think from the brewery floor to the top, it's 52 feet.
Wow.
So
Wow.
watching them up on the scaffolding, putting that up, I just left. Yeah.
Too much risk there. Lipstick Addict 83 asks a really good question. Do you do weddings, and do you do other events such as weddings?
Absolutely. We actually have a person, Heather Guglielmo, who does our events coordination and our social media presence. And we've done anything from a 15 or 20 person event upstairs in our mezzanine, or we've shut down for a Saturday for an entire wedding from soup to nuts. From they got married here, we did all the reception, we did everything here. So absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, private events. I know my family's had a birthday party there for about 20 folks or so. Private events are something you guys are really good at for sure. But let's talk about the beer. Let's talk about your little domain. Talk about the beer lineup that you have for Core, and then some of the stuff that you might be working on for the coming weeks and months.
I think the beer, because we're a restaurant, I try and make beer that's going to, we call it beer in balance. So we're going to try and make it so that it's going to pair very well with many of our menu items. And most of our beers are fairly low in ABV. Most are around 5.3, 4.8 to 5.3 is kind of our wheelhouse. And with that, I want folks to be able to come and have 2 or 3 pints with their meal and be able to have enough room to enjoy their meal, have it go very well with their food, and have them be able to remember how to get home is important for us. So if I make just a crazy hopped up, gonna burn your throat down, a lot of people will love it, but you're not gonna taste the raspberry vinaigrette dressing that you're gonna ruin your salad. So try and make it so that it's gonna pair very well with it. Some of our core, I guess our 4 core, we've got our red ale, which you're drinking, which was one of the first beers that I really worked on really hard in my garage. That's about 4.8. It's nice and malty. It's got a little bit of Fuggle hops in the end there, a little earthiness. Yummy, delicious. It's probably my favorite. When I go out to Brewfest and I try 500 different tastes of things, I come home to the red and I'm like, ooh, that's home.
Yeah.
Our other go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I got to go to your garage twice, and this is, I think, the first beer that you actually served me. So it's something I really do enjoy.
Yeah. So we also have our blonde is another big seller for. I don't serve anybody else's beer here, so it's all just what we make. So when the sports drinkers come in and they're like, "Well, I usually drink Bud Light or Coors Light," super, try our blonde, and they typically love it. It's 4.8. It's fairly highly carbonated, like the sports car, and not too filling, not too malty, not too hoppy, right in the middle, and people definitely dig it. We've got our 2.0, which is named because I'm awful at naming things. I've since given that up to other people that are much more talented with that. But it was a New England style. It's a New England style IPA, so it comes in at about 5.2 ABV. It's double dry hopped and nice and hazy, and got a nice little malt back in the beginning, and then nice citrusy, hoppy, mellow beer, great for the lawnmower. And then we've got our double IPA, which is another one that we keep on almost all the time. And I call that the freeway to fun. If you only have an hour and you only have time for one pint, you might want that one. It's 8.1%. A little bit more malt forward than most double IPAs are, but it's got a great malt nose, or it's got a great hot nose. It's got a great finishing, just enough bitterness to get it done. So it's yummy.
Yeah, it's great. Sarah Packer has said that the blonde is amazing. She's a big fan. Our mutual friend, Shay, IPA Shay, says 2.0 is her favorite, but the pivot was the bomb, the most recent pivot. So,
people are liking that.
Shay, in full disclosure, has worked for the Maine Brew Bus and also is helping Nonesuch River get their name out there as well. People really dig the beer. And what happens when people have the beer outside of your restaurant? What's kind of the feedback you get either through your fans or through the distributors?
The rebranding definitely helped to get our packaging done. When you start a business, you have limited resources. You've got as much time as you have to take care of things, and we did the best that we could to get packaging out there so that we could start a package presence. You'll find out sooner or later that there's certain things that you're good at, and there's certain things that you should really pay other people to do. So we went with the branding and hired an advertising agency to kind of help us figure out all the things that we think we are, and then compartmentalize them into a nice package. And they did great work for us and really listened to us and got our vision down pat and kind of pulled everything that we thought we were together, so that now we're all on the same story, and the packaging's been really well received. The beer's great inside, and we're looking real hard at the numbers right now. We've got some great distribution partners out there. We're in 8 Hannafords, we're in Market Basket, we're in Trader Joe's, we're in some great places like Perks Beverage here in Scarborough and Oak Hill Beverage, many of the specialty shops. So right now, that's our biggest viable income source right now. So if you really want to get out there and support brewers, get out there and buy their products.
Yeah, that's a great story there. Our friend Kathy Fura asks, are you distributing in New Hampshire?
We are not. We are just working on southern Maine at this point. We're working in concentric circles to kind of own our backyard and then move to the next backyard. So
that's okay. Kathy is Victoria's mother, so Victoria can always shuttle Nonesuch River Brewing beer to her in New Hampshire. It's okay.
There you go.
We have a method.
Yep.
We have a method. Let's talk about that chain business a little bit. If you didn't have that chain business, would the next few weeks look drastically different?
Not so much. The curbside is doing what we were hoping it would do. It's been a pretty good business right now. We're certainly, obviously numbers are down, but at this point you're looking to do better than break even. And we've had some great local community support, and right now it's working. So we're able to do what it is we do, which is serve people with food and beverage. And as long as it makes viable sense to do so, we're going to do it, because the community certainly needs us and we need them. So
yeah,
we're just going to keep rolling.
It's symbiotic for sure. That's good to hear. Now, just going back to Kathy and Victoria, Kathy says that she'll accept that and she'll even tip for the delivery. Victoria's chimed in. She says that she'll take her mom's order and she'll be dropping by soon, Michael. So you'll see her soon, which is great.
Well, give us a call. I hear the phone ringing now.
The phone's ringing now. Yeah. Operators are standing by.
Yes,
curbside service. What are your hours of operation right now?
Right now, we are open from noon till 7. And again, we're building the airplane as we're flying it. So we'll put out postings if that changes. But right now we're open noon to 7.
And tell us where you're located. 7 days a week. Yeah, where are you located?
We're located at 201 Gorham Road in Scarborough.
That's not a scary place. That's pretty easy. I said before you got on, very close to the main mall. Very close to both the Scarborough and Maine Mall exits off of the Maine Turnpike.
Yep, just 3 minutes off the main road. Yep.
Perfect. Very close by. Corey says, hi, Michael.
That's my son.
I'm going to say shares your last name. So he calls you Michael?
Oh, just on this. Shouldn't you be sleeping something or doing laundry or something?
Is Corey part of the Scarborough team that went to the state finals?
He certainly is. He certainly is.
They fell just short. It was a tremendous game. 2 overtimes, I think?
Went to 2 overtimes with a 20-0 team that hadn't been beaten all year. So, and it was the closest game that they'd had, and I think our boys laid it all out there and showed a lot of heart. Yeah. And if they can take that energy through the rest of their life, they can accomplish anything. So. Amazing.
Unforgettable experience. Well done, Corey. K Reach, or perhaps it's Creech24, says Cuban sandwich and a 2.0, the bomb. So you get fans there, Michael, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a question, and you answer to the best of your ability in terms of, before I ask you the question. Kristen says that I'll get him doing his chores ASAP, and the chores will be done before you get home.
Thank you.
She's on it. Let me ask how you're doing emotionally through all this, and how your partners and also your family. How is everybody dealing with all of this?
I think probably my wife, Kristen, has maybe the toughest job of them all. She's a kindergarten teacher in South Portland, so trying to figure out how to do online teaching with kindergartners. I'm not quite sure how she's going to do that, and she's working on a plan.
She's teaching the adults, basically, at that point, how to work with their kids, Yeah.
But from an emotional standpoint, the world has changed, and I couldn't imagine being a business owner having to let staff go because you were just really bad at what you did. And we can't keep people coming in the doors well enough because we're not good at running a business, and now we've got to lay you off. But this is a world pandemic, and the entire world, every country is affected by this, and it's not our fault. There's some pretty good levers that the government has pulled to be able to help small businesses through this, with some loans and some mortgage things that maybe you won't need to pay for a few months, which are all great. So I don't know. It's just you put together a plan, and then something happens, and then you got to refigure. So it is what it is right now, and we're just trying to take care of all the people that we can take care of, and remain viable for when this ends. We can be strong and back on top. And from the household, we've got our kids are at home now. Spend some time putting up the basketball hoops so that they can do their physical education outside.
Yes.
During that period of the day, and all that. So it's kind of as a parent, it's kind of tough to make decisions because like my son Corey asked if he could go play golf with a friend. And our initial thought is like, well, who's his dad? Does his dad travel? We don't know who's been in their house. But then logic steps in, and they're going to be on the other sides of the fairway. They're not going to touch each other. Go do that.
Yeah. So. Get outside. There's no restriction on getting outside. And there's no restriction on checking on what Nonesuch River has for food and drink available, and to find a way to get it, either through your retail stores or through visiting their facility. Last thoughts, and this is not anything we prepared for. Do you have any sort of uplifting, bright moment that's happened? Any sort of special support or a special touching moment that's happened over the past few days?
I think just seeing how hard the team is continuing to work amidst all of this. They come in and with all the world falling apart around them, it's still business as usual. It's still, I'm going to make the best Cubano I can. I'm going to service our customers as well as I can. I'm going to clean that table as well as I can. It's those times when all the chips are down, but you're still doing your job as well as you can, and you're still caring for people and your employees and supporting each other and all of that. So I think it's the community coming together through this, and we're all going to come out of this stronger than we were before, because we're going to really realize that we're all good people and we're all willing to help, and we all have helped and will continue. So.
Yeah, those are great words, Michael. And I think this comment sums it all up here. J. Willie 64 says, "We love you guys from New Hampshire. We will be visiting as soon as we can," with a smiley face. So
we'll be here.
That says a lot right there. We'll be here for sure. Michael, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us on the virtual brewery tour. And we wish you well, and we look forward to drinking more of your beer soon.
All right, me too.
Awesome. And if you enjoyed what you saw and what you heard from Michael at Nonesuch River Brewing Company in Scarborough, don't forget that we have a virtual tip jar available on our website. Just like on the bus, if you had a good time, we ask for your consideration. We never expect it, but always appreciate gratuity. You'll see it right at the top of our page at themainebrewbus.com. All right, thanks so much for joining us. Michael, thanks again, and cheers.
Very good. Thank you, Don. Enjoy.
You got it. See you soon.